Get the iced coffee. You love that iced coffee. Audrey likes iced coffee.
Because it's hot in Florida, dude. It's already hot.
Yeah.
It's hot here.
We got to cut the grass this weekend, the 5 acres. It's already
It is hot.
Yeah.
I was hot yesterday, and it was going to be hot today.
Well, I'll tell you what's hot is the SEC basketball, and we're going to talk today.
And football.
I know, with Coach Ellis Johnson,
we got
Jake
football.
Wimberly, Rodney Ord, Yancey
What's
Porter,
going on in Bama and spring practice? I mean,
and you know, and that's the thing. It's like with
War
all
on his way out? Like, what's going on?
The transition from football to basketball league. Well, we got to get back to football.
We got to talk some football.
We're going to be heavy football today, Brendan. Is that cool?
We need, yeah. Well, that's what I. The whole title today was SEC Spring Football Explosion.
Yeah,
because I've been reading about DeBoer and Bama and what's going on down there, and it. Yeah. Hey, Alabama, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. It's tough to lose an icon. FYI.
Well, it is, and we'll talk about that with Coach Johnson. And look, everybody, take a picture with your cellular phone of the QR code. We're broadcasting simultaneously on X and YouTube and Facebook, 7 different channels, and then it's shared everywhere all over the universe. So watch us live. If you can't watch live, check in later. I know a lot of you people commute. Put us on while you're commuting. You live in Atlanta, Birmingham, out on 280, Orlando, wherever you are, Austin, Memphis, Little Rock, these big cities. Put us on when you're on the exercise bike, when you're on the treadmill, when you're on your walk or whatever. If you're running, I don't take when I'm running, but I do when I'm hiking.
If you're indisposed in the baño.
You could be convalescing.
In the baño, in El Baño. By the way, this is our YouTube channel right here. Go click on that QR code. That will take you to the YouTube channel that you can subscribe. It's actually the subscribe link. Click on there, subscribe. Turn your notifications on your phone. Folks, you don't realize that, but your phones will turn notifications on and off and all that good stuff. Turn them on. You'll get notifications on when we're live. And we've probably talked too much because we've got one of the greatest guests in the world in our green room with Coach Ellis Johnson, a.k.a. Tom Cruise. What's up, Hollywood?
Badass.
What's up, Hollywood?
I'm just barely kicking over here.
Oh, yeah. Coach, I got to tell you. And by the way, George, I love this guy, Gator George, out in Portland, Oregon. Watches this show, watches the Buddy Martin show. He said, "Rob, is that a Pendleton shirt you had on the other day?" I'm like, "Yes, it's called the Glacier National Park shirt. I got it at Hewlett and Dunn. They had one left on the 50% off rack the other day, George, hewlettanddunn.com. They'll ship it to you." Coach, man, let's start off. And Brendan and I love college football. And this basketball, it's gotten – are we transitioning from a football to a basketball league? Or is the SEC just so damn good? It's like we can dominate in every sport, get out of our way. That's what I think is happening.
Oh, yeah, much more of the latter.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to continue year after year after year. But if you look at a lot of other sports, I mean, the female sports, and the other Olympic sports and things, you don't pay much attention to them, but there's been tremendous success in the SEC. But one reason I believe that right now they're about to dominate more frequently is money.
Yeah.
And the money's coming, obviously, from the football deal. And the bigger and bigger that football deal gets, the more and more money there is spread around.
Yeah. Hey, let's bring in Jake Wimberly, ESPN 105.9, The Afternoon Drive, 3 to 6 p.m., Monday through Friday, Jackson, Mississippi, the capital city down there. Coach, Jake is really into football. He's a civil engineer by trade.
You like football, Jake?
Yeah. Mississippi. He loves football.
I think you like football.
Let's get him to talk about. He does a lot of these analytics and matrix and indexes and is really, really accurate on football. So, like I said, all of you, we're going to be talking about Final Four during the show, people. Don't have a panic attack. It's in the South. We're going to talk a little college football if you twist Brendan and mine's arm. But, Jake, how you doing?
Good, guys. Coach, good to see you as well. Now, look, Coach Johnson may tell me to take those analytics and stuff it. How Mummy kind of told me that jokingly one day. He's like, "Hey, I don't need you telling me about numbers. I know about numbers."
I didn't pay much attention to them when I was coaching, but now I have to have something to talk about.
That's right.
Well, it's spring football, man. The trees
It
are
is.
blooming, the grass is growing, and it's got to be cut. Everybody, get your zero turns ready and your whatevers. But Jake, let's start off with spring practice. It's underway. So, what are you hearing? Good, bad, and ugly.
Well, if you want to start in the state of Mississippi, if we start with Mississippi State, hearing some good things, out of the quarterback room for Jeff Levy, which is a positive. He better have that. When you look at Blake Shapen putting on a little weight, the good kind of weight is throwing the football well. Luke Kerman-Hawk has come in from Florida State and hit the ground running as well. Feel like they're going to be better at the skill set position. Defensively, they're trying to get some of those transfer portal players, in the right positions as well. The thing for Mississippi State is sadly they could be better, which they should be, but the record may not reflect it. When you look at the schedule that they have to play, when you shift gears and you go up to Oxford, I mean, it's all buy-in on what Lane Kiffin's doing. I mean, Ellis was talking about earlier when I just got in, hey, it's the money. The SEC is going to get better and better, based on money. And I'm paraphrasing what he was saying, but that is absolutely true when you look at what Ole Miss has been able to do, how they've been able to capitalize. Not a lot of star power, as far as name recognition like it was last year. But this Ole Miss team, they're expecting big things again in Oxford.
Well, I'm big on the takeaways from conversations. Last week's probably the number one takeaway of the week was said by a man from Winsboro, South Carolina. I'm looking right at him, Coach Ellis Johnson. He said, in the past, fan bases would poke their chest out and say, look at this $100 million upper deck we just built. Now it's shifted about a 180. Hey, look at the $30 million we've got in cash for NIL to go get more players. Coach Johnson, we were talking about recruiting. It's no easier than it's ever been, is it? But how different is it when the conversation is about money and how much and not about player development and all that other stuff?
I would have to think it's extremely different. I mean, I was out before the NIL started, and obviously before it's now gotten into the recruiting aspect, and so it'd be a totally new ball game for me. Recruiting kids to me was never hard. It was always fun to get engaged with football players at that age. If you couldn't associate with them, relate to them in that respect, I don't know how the hell you were going to coach them for the next 3 or 4 years. But there was always somebody else you had to deal with, whether it was the parent, the coach, the uncle, the dude down the street that drove them over there 3 times. So I don't know how all that's changed, because you used to be having to get somebody to take care of the guy that was bringing them to camp.
Yeah.
And now you got to get somebody that knows how to run an NFL program with a front office. It's getting just to the point, these general managers we talked about the other day that everybody's hiring. You almost have to have somebody like that, or all that minutia would drive you crazy when you're trying to coach. But it's a different world, I'm sure, and I can only imagine what coaches are going through dealing with it.
I mean, Jake, you look at a guy like Coach Johnson, and you look at law firms, they always have guys that have been practicing a while, of counsel, on the board, whatever. I would want to have someone like Coach Johnson in my football building as an advisor, coach, whatever, because of the experience. I mean, these kids they're all 19. He's been 19, and he's whatever age he is now. I mean, there's a lot to be said about that experience, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And look, coach may not want to deal with all that, right? He may, but he may not. I mean, it's a lot of moving parts, like you said. I mean, it's professional football without it being called professional football. I mean, it really is. We were talking about a story yesterday about how Oklahoma now has an associate to their general manager for their basketball program. So, there was a report that came out on on3.com. So, I mean, we've got general managers, associate general managers, front office people. I mean, we're literally a commissioner and a players union shy of this being the National Football League.
All right, and you talk about the general manager. I heard maybe it was Tyler Siskey say this about, I generally manage people. And that's what Courtney Morgan, who's the general manager coach at Alabama, he's been with DeBoer for a while. He's from California. Courtney played football with Tom Brady at Michigan. He said Brady used to put the heat on him to get his tickets when Brady was a senior and Courtney was a freshman, because they're both from California. But if you look at football in the SEC today, Ohio State their national championship last year. You can legally, with NIL do what you do, but it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't feel right. Not that other schools haven't used NIL to get talent, but how does the SEC stop this? Ohio State and schools like that, they're always going to come here, but how do you stop it if you're, say, Alabama from losing to Caleb Downs and Dylan Sela and all people like that?
I mean, I don't know if in today's climate that you do stop it, right? I mean, you better have more money. I mean, that's the thing is we have no salary cap. So, if it's just like Major League Baseball. I mean, you take Major League Baseball. I mean, the Dodgers have the most money. Yeah. They've spent the most money. They're going to win probably the championship. Now, money doesn't always equate to championships. We know that. Exactly. But, I mean, you've got to have more money. And, I think that's one of the things that you've seen with Greg Byrne being so vocal about, hey, we've got to raise more money. I mean, they know where they're at in this, kind of pecking order now, which is not too far down the rabbit hole, but are too far behind, Ohio State or say Michigan or Texas. But I mean, until we get some form of a salary cap or whatever, how you want to frame it up to where, you kind of are capping this thing. I don't know what you do. You got to have more money.
Coach, you mentioned about money so big. As Franz always says, only God and the Longhorns have more money than Texas A&M. But they're kind of stuck in that 8-5 rut. In this millennium, they've had one double-digit win season. They went 11-2 in 2012, the first year in the SEC. If you were at Texas A&M, what do you know about that landscape? And is it tough to go into the boardroom with a room full of J.R. Ewings that all have a shit ton of money and nobody takes a leadership role? Is that what it is? I mean, it's just they've got fans, they have everything, but they can't get it together.
Yeah, I think there was a time, I can't get the years exactly right, where they were better than Texas on a consistency basis. And then I think Texas kind of took it back over. That's a situation that exists in a lot of states, a political power, if you will, that controls too many things out on the sidewalks and in the boardrooms and all that. And it's hard to overcome. The one thing Texas A&M's done that's unbelievable over the last 20 to 30 years, I don't think anybody has done anything, maybe Oregon, anything close to improving their facilities the way they have. And, of course, just about the time they get to where they're saying, hey, look at this. This is our commitment to how we're going to try to be good.
Yeah.
Well, it starts the NIL. And now the kids don't really get enamored with these big buildings and indoor practice facilities like they used to. Yeah. Of course, most of them have pretty good ones anyhow. It's just, Jake kind of stole my thunder a while ago. If the NCAA doesn't get back toward an NFL model in the parity aspect, find some way to get some controls like the salary cap idea or something. They've got to get something. Right now, they're like MLB or the NBA.
Yeah.
Kids just like LeBron calls up Kevin and says, hey, let's play together next year. And then they go to the same basketball team for a while. If you want to have it that way, that's fine. But the people with the money are going to end up buying all the kids up. And you're going to have this Ohio State problem like we were talking about a while ago. I don't mind the NIL, especially in its purest form. It was well overdue.
Yeah.
But this thing about the collectives and just paying kids, okay, that cat's out of the bag now also. You better find some way to have parity, or you're going to ruin college football. There's going to be about 15 teams worth watching every year. Yeah. And then the last thing I would say about that is, if you don't want parity, then you're going to lose the value of the competitiveness and rivalries and all those type of things. And I think the biggest problem is the portal. The portal is what's pouring gas on the money.
Yeah.
If you cut a deal with a school and you had to stay there at least 2 years or maybe some other circumstance you could appeal to get out, you wouldn't have all this tampering and jacking up the salaries and paying kids to leave and all that. The portal is what's really got it out of control.
Well, and I think too at A&M you had to have a strong personality like Jackie Sherrill. He's going to own the room when he's in there. R.C. Slocum. That was a period, Sherrill 82, 88, R.C. Slocum 89 to 02. Those type people, Jake. And you know what Jackie Sherrill did at Mississippi State? He didn't win big every year, but he woke up the donor base. the Leo Seals of the world. And I know Jan Gwynn from Memphis, great guy, big Mississippi State supporter. They've got boosters out there at every school, Jake, in Mississippi. The College of Engineering, I bet that's the number one profit center when it comes to raising funds at a school like Mississippi State. Jake, looking around the SEC, as we head into this year, Coach made so many great points. What school, and I know we don't have divisions, but just for simplicity, you look at the East and the West, but Oklahoma and Texas came in last year. We all knew Texas was better prepared. Well, here it is, year 2. Has anything really changed at Oklahoma except my friend Jim Nagy, who was the executive director of the Reese's Pieces Mobile Senior Bowl about 3 weeks ago, Coach? Because I used to ask him, man, would you ever want to get into coaching? He goes, nah, I don't know. He's the new general manager at Oklahoma. That, to me, is the biggest off-field move in the offseason in college football, at least in the SEC. Jake, agree or disagree?
I mean, I think it's definitely big. And, we know Jim knows football. And if you're going to get somebody that, in a general manager type role, why not go get the guy who runs the Senior Bowl? I mean, the biggest scouting quote combine outside of the official NFL combine. Yeah. As far as Oklahoma, for Brent Venables, he better hope that he's got it figured out, because we were talking about this yesterday. I mean, if Texas makes a run back into the college football playoff and, they win the national championship, or they're playing for this thing this year, like a lot of people anticipate they will, and Oklahoma, falters, I don't know that 8 or 9 wins is going to save his job. John Mateer is a quarterback that came in from Washington State, and they better hope that he's, Cam Ward-like, meaning, Cam Ward was at Washington State, goes on to Miami, has a big season this past year, off to the National Football League. A lot of pub and a lot of, hype around this Mateer kid coming in from Washington State, dual threat quarterback. They need him to be that. I've got him rated as a second or third best quarterback in the conference coming in, at least, through my analytics. Wow. Okay. But I mean, he's a guy that can pick them up and put them down. He can stress the defense, make you play 11 on 11. He's that kind of quarterback. Played some inferior opponents out, obviously out west this past year, but, Brent Venables has been, open and honest and said, hey, look, I'm going to call the defense. Oklahoma's got talent. They still recruit extremely well. They've had some, attrition through the transfer portal, but it's a big year nonetheless. And they're going to put a lot on the shoulders of John Mateer.
Yeah, that's a cool story, because Cam Ward, I know, was very interested in coming to an SEC school in the last year. I think his first year, Coach, at Incarnate Word in San Antonio, he passed for over 6,000 yards. And I don't know who his competition was, but that's pretty impressive. All right, Coach, let's switch gears, talk about Arkansas. I don't think there's a coach that's more loved by just people, Sam Pittman. I even asked him a question at media days. I said, I know you said that after a big win, you like to have your cold beer. I said, would that ever include a Hamm's beer? And he goes, man, you look like you got a pretty good job. You got to up your game a little bit. But Hamm's is damn good beer, Coach, and I'm right. But I live in Memphis. I always, I'm in Arkansas. I'm at the farm right now across the river. But I'll be back in Memphis right after the show. But can you do it at Arkansas? You can't do it in-state alone. But he's got some damn good guys on that staff. Travis Williams is up there. He's got Marcus Woodson. I know them from their time at Auburn, but I remember Marcus at Memphis. He was at Florida State. They've got money, and I don't know if people have been paying much attention. John Calipari is getting the families together. I mean, Warren Stevens, J.B. Hunt family. Obviously, we know the Waltons. If you've ever had a chicken tender in your life, you're pulling for the hogs. They've got money. How hard or how easy is it to get all those boosters rowing in the same direction for the common good of said university, in this case, the University of Arkansas?
Can be hard everywhere.
Okay.
I saw elements of it at Alabama, elements of it at Auburn, even sometimes at State. And I was at Arkansas for 34 days. And every time we rode around campus, I saw a name on a building, and I said, that guy's an Arkansas grad? Yeah. They said, you ever ride down the road, you see those J.B. Hunt trucks?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I've passed about 500 of them coming out here.
Yeah.
That's Arkansas money. I mean, people don't realize how much money they have and how powerful they are because there's not a whole lot more money in the state. They got it all. And they don't have another major college football program in the state like some other people. Like LSU kind of has that same advantage.
Yeah.
It can be done there. The problem is the neighborhood they're playing in. And it's so hard today, in my opinion, to unseat some of those guys in the present climate because it's almost impossible to outwork them. And you can't out-patient. You can't just grow the thing and develop your players and beat them with some longevity because, hell, everybody's taking them in and out of the portal. If you do get a great recruiting class there, somebody comes in and takes half of them. So I don't know. It's a hard question to answer, but I know they got the potential financially. They can do what they need to do. There's no question about that. They're just in a tough recruiting area, don't have a natural recruiting base, and every which way they go to get those kids, they're running into a national power.
Rob, I think your mic's off.
Sorry about that. You've got Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri, who's from Alma, Arkansas. And, where that is, that's right on I-40 where you turn up to go to Fayetteville. And we were there in October. It is just absolutely spectacular. There's 600,000 people up there, 200 miles of mountain bike and hiking and running and walking trails. I've never seen it. It is, you feel like, what planet am I on? But you're right. You get over in the Delta where we are, not a lot of big towns. I mean, parking here, they say 1,000. It's just, but you got people that own 25,000 acres of farmland. They can pump some serious money in. Jake, looking at another school, we just talked about Texas and Oklahoma. I know you got a hard out in 7 minutes. I see that. And tell me this, Mike Elko, his first year, they start off really strong, but they didn't close strong. What do you expect out of the Aggies in year two? And we need the ticker, like on the stock market, guys, crawling under the screen to keep up with the rosters at school. So this morning before the show started, anyway, what's going on in Aggie land?
It's going to be interesting to watch. This was a team that, faltered down the stretch. We thought that they were going to potentially play for the Southeastern Conference Championship. They return a lot of really good players, really good quarterback and Marcel Reed they like. They've got some receivers from the transfer portal that they like. Texas A&M is going to be big up front defensively. If you kind of go over and you look, and let me find it real quick, and what I like to call kind of, you talk about a stock market watch, and we can get more into this, kind of a revisionist history next time, is your offensive and defensive scoring efficiencies. You look at Texas A&M last year, they were 24th in the country in offensive scoring efficiency and 25th defensively. Those are not bad numbers, but if they're going to compete, for the SEC, if they're going to compete nationally, they're going to have to bring those numbers down around, 15, 16 or inside 15 and in. Offensively, they need, they lack a little bit of explosion. Defensively, they're going to be there. So if Reed can give them that pop, I've got them at 9-3 this year. Wow. Looking at my spreadsheet real quick, that they've got a key game at Notre Dame in week 3. They come back and play Auburn after the bye week at home. They'll also host Florida. They'll travel to LSU, and then of course go to Texas and have to go to Missouri. So it's a schedule that will allow them to be in play, I think, for one of those college football playoff spots come November. It's just, can they make those plays offensively? Can they do what they haven't done all the way back to Kevin Sumlin, except the 1 year with Johnny Manziel, is, beat teams in big moments. They just have not been able to do that.
Yeah, and Coach, I think the big difference between the rivalry, Texas A&M, and Auburn, Alabama is, and I say this seriously, I think A&M and Texas hate each other so much. There's not that respect. There is respect between Auburn and Alabama. Like I said, my wife is a Vol for life. Our oldest daughter's an Alabama grad. The rest of my family's all Auburn, but we respect it. I respect Florida. As a rival growing up, Auburn, Florida was one of the biggest games of the year to me. I think you can hate somebody to the point where it's a distraction. Last year Texas went in there and A&M just thought, okay, we got them at home. Once that kickoff, once the ball is in play, it's completely different down on the field, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the football team got in that mindset, but their fan base stays in that mindset.
Yeah, and
it goes
thank you for
back a
correcting
long
me.
way.
You're right.
It goes back to where they were not nearly as large of an institution and had all male military. And I mean, I'm talking about way back.
Yeah.
And at that time, Texas owned everything from Texas to wherever. And Texas's biggest rivalry back then was not A&M. It was Arkansas. And then, whoever else is in danger went beat them for the national championship. A&M wouldn't even be in the picture. And I kind of studied a lot of that history. It was really interesting to me because Coach Bryant coached there for a while, and Coach Stallings, who I worked for, coached there for a while. And when Coach went there and played for Coach Bryant, I mean, they were stepchildren. You didn't go there if you could go to Texas. And a lot of that's changed, but I think the thing about Mike's got that personality. It's my way or the highway, and I think at Duke it was pretty good because if they run your ass off at Duke, where are you going to go? But if you get run off at Texas A&M, you might go across the road and play for Texas.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's going to be hard, but they certainly don't have any problem with money. And like Jake said earlier, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to win because you got the most money. And if it's not spent well, it doesn't help at all. And they got plenty of money. They got great facilities. They got a great recruiting base, unbelievable, traditions and so forth. I think he can get it done there, but it's just like Arkansas. I said a while ago, it's hard for everybody in that neighborhood.
Yeah. And I know a lot of Aggie fans, and they're the common thread is I like all of them. They absolutely worship and adore the brick and mortar of that. I mean, there's not. It's an incredible fan base, but you're right. I think the hatred of Texas. You got to respect somebody, and also Jake. I know you got to go. Tell people how they can follow you and what you're talking about on your show today, and let's do this again next week. Sadly, basketball will be over Monday night. And it's the South where we like to say we cover college football, baseball, and basketball like kudzu and cotton and humidity, which is just around the corner, which means my friends, the mosquitoes, are making a comeback.
Oh, they're here. They're definitely here down in Mississippi. Hey, just find me on X at Jake Wynn. We'll be on today 3 to 6. You can always stream the show if you're outside the state of Mississippi. Of course, we're on the FM dial 105.9 if you're in Central Mississippi. ESPN radio, stream it at the zone1059.com. We'll be doing some college football today. Also, talking more Final Four stuff. So a lot of basketball, a lot of football today.
Jake, always love having you on. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach. Good to see you. Thank you.
You too, Jake.
Coach, Yancey Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline will be on with us in just a minute, as will Rodney Orr, Tider Insider. Let me say something real quick about one of our sponsors. We love these folks in Athens, Alabama. Winter timber. It's turkey season, folks. Get ready. It's kicking off. It is April 1st. Get your ground blinds, your decoys, get your calls, slate calls, box calls, diaphragm calls. What else they've got? They got all your handguns, shotguns, and rifles. They got the scopes. They've got the gear that outfits you from head to toe. Winter Timber Outdoors. You walk into a Winter Timber Outdoors store, you know you're in a place with a bunch of people who share your passion for the outdoor life. They've got Sitka. They've got Yeti coolers, tumblers, the soft-sideds, the hard coolers. You got everything you need. And the Migra turkey loads. They've got federal ammunition, sunglasses. Look at all this stuff on the screen here. But it's turkey season, people. Get geared up at Rete Masimara GPS. Buy one, get one free. Take a picture with your cellular phone of the QR code. They got a store under construction, Coach, a big one down in Auburn. Should open in June. They're looking in markets all over the Southeastern Conference footprint. Damn proud to be associated with them. Love them. Winter Timber Outdoors. Coach, I like what you said about the interest. Money alone can't solve it. You look at programs like Florida and Georgia, what I call those 6 schools that have won the SEC since 1963: Auburn, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, and LSU. It's not these other schools don't have money, but I know a lot of the boosters at Auburn, you do too. I like what Bobby Louder says, and he's been an avid Auburn boost. I mean, he will give his last drop of blood for Auburn. He loves that school so much. And he said, you know, if you're just remember the ones who, if you're going to drink from the well, remember the ones who dug it. There's been a lot of people, like you said, those buildings in Fayetteville, Ben Hill Griffin, Ward Pell, the widow of, you know, the late Florida coach Charlie Pell, who I think, no disrespect to Steve Spurrier or anybody, I think that man woke up Gator Nation like nobody else. And Ward Pell said he knew how to do it. And he sat on the front porch of a man named Ben Hill Griffin. Ben Hill Griffin, you know, pretty big name at Florida. Sat out there and ate swamp cabbage with him. And for about 3 hours, they weren't talking really about football, she said, just life. And at the end of their meeting, he handed him a check and he just said it was in an envelope. And he took it back. It was the largest gift ever given to Florida athletics. Isn't that a big part of it? I know it is in my business. It's 95% of your conversations are about anything but business. You look at those schools, there's a mindset. It doesn't matter the sport. And you were at Alabama with Coach Stallings. You were at Auburn with Gus and those guys. There's just a mindset in there that
and some schools implanted it years ago, and it's just, you know, it's something that carries itself from year to year. Other schools have to have someone like a Charlie Pell come in and open the blinds and say, "Here, this is what you're not taking advantage of. This is what it can be if you just make the commitment." He did the same thing at Clemson to a great degree. And he was only there as a head coach a short time.
Yeah.
My dad was a Clemson graduate back when it was all male military. And graduated in 1937. And he always says Coach Pell taught Clemson how to win big.
Yeah.
And they had won, you know, they'd been to some Cotton Bowls and stuff in the past. Actually played LSU in the Sugar Bowl one year, tied them when LSU won the national championship. So they had been around and done some great things. But until he kind of put a spark under them, they didn't beat Georgia and Georgia Tech every other year and some of the other things that he got done before he went to Florida. And of course, I think he did probably do a lot of the same things at Florida.
Yeah, and it's no disrespect. I mean, what he did, and then Steve Spurrier came in and just took that moment. Obviously, they had Galen Hall and a little, you know, in between, but it's amazing. You go back to Clemson's success. They call it Auburn with a lake, but your four greatest coaches in Clemson history: Frank Howard, Alabama grad; Charlie Pell, Alabama grad; Dabo Swinney, Alabama grad. Oh, and Danny Ford, Alabama grad.
They had John Heisman too.
Yeah, John W. Heisman was at Auburn, Clemson, and he spent 15 years at Georgia Tech. And before we go to Yancey Porter, you remember what John W. Heisman, the coach, said? He said, I would rather have died. You would rather have died as a young child than to fumble the football.
Right.
Wow. Yancey Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline. Love this guy. He's from Vicksburg, grew up in Hattiesburg over in Pine Country of Mississippi, but he lives in Oxford, does a great show, Coach, every Monday night, 6 p.m., called Rebel Yell Hotline, Sports 56 WHBQ in Memphis, and all over on Super Talk Mississippi. And he knows Ole Miss. He is connected. He knows what's happening. Coach, a year and a half ago, whatever, he was saying, hey, guys, I'm just going to put it out there. Don't be surprised. Chris Beard is the next basketball coach at Ole Miss. Yancey, we got Coach Ellis Johnson on here right now. Rodney Orr will join in a second. And later in the show, I'm going to have a huge Alabama fan, Brad Bellamy, from one of our sponsors, Landers Ford, jump in the conversation. He wants to talk to y'all. And I got to tell you, Yancey, I was in Atlanta watching Ole Miss. My God. Whoever that young reporter was that said, hey, Coach, for a guy like you and calling them frauds, I'm with Coach. Ole Miss basketball's best days are ahead of them. And, wow, when he starts recruiting better and better talent, it's scary how good they're going to be.
Yeah, it was a missed opportunity, really. You know, would they have beaten Auburn? They were 0 for 3 for the season, so I doubt it. But It'd
You
have been
don't know.
nice to,
Yeah.
yeah, you don't know. They got better and better each game against Auburn, but it was a missed opportunity, really was. But, they kind of outperformed their talent, honestly. He's gonna go in the roster. Beard is kind of like Lane, right? He's been before the portal even started when it used to just be grad transfers. He would get 7 or 8, all the way back to the days of Texas Tech. So
Yeah.
he's the right coach in this era, kind of like Lane is in football. So
Yeah.
he's going to regroup. They've got the point guard from Creighton, Isaac Pops, on campus right now. Utah Valley, excuse me. They got 6'10" forward in there. That's really, really good player that can shoot the three. Beard likes that positionless type team. He's looking for his bigs to be able to play with the face to the basket and, kind of like a stretch five, more so, that you've seen in the NBA for years. So he's going to really, get after it in the portal and see where it goes.
Well, it's fun watching. I really like Chris Beard. I don't know. I have an affinity for people who are super intense and driven like that to watch them succeed. He seems like he has a plan to walk down the hall to go to the bathroom. I mean, this guy is so driven, and I think Ole Miss people do whatever you got to do to keep this guy because the SEC is better for having him on the phone live from Tuscaloosa. For only $48 a year, you can get inside this man's mind. Tighter insider. Rodney Orr, born in Mobile, spent 25 years in Corpus Christi and translated the body of Christ. He is a great American. We love him. Rodney, we got Coach Ellis Johnson and Yancey Porter on the show this morning. I'm drinking some mushroom coffee. I don't know what his stuff is good. Can we talk some basketball, and then is it okay to talk some college football? Because I just feel this volcanic eruption about to explode because, man, what a time of year it is. April Fool's Day. We're seriously. Tell us what's going on in Tuscaloosa.
Well, actually, I'd rather talk about football at this point. No, it's
I didn't
yeah.
think we'd ever hear that.
Well, it is what it is. But by the way, though, Alabama did land first guy from the portal last night, a 7-footer. Yancey mentioned a stretch five. That's kind of what he's considered. Noah Williamson from Bucknell, who averaged over 17 points a game this past year, over 7 rebounds a game, was the Patriot League Player of the Year. So, it looks like he's got a lot of skills. Hopefully he'll step in for that, kind of in that Grant Nelson role. So we'll see, how that goes. But otherwise, it's kind of just sitting back and watching the Final Four, waiting on it.
Yeah, and I watched Duke's really good. Their average size of their players is 6'8". You live and die by the 3-pointer, but now you're getting a 7-footer. Expand on that stretch five that Yancey was talking about.
Well, I mean, look, he's a guy that's got the ability to do a lot of different things. I mean, he can dribble, he can shoot, he can defend. I mean, he's not just a big, tall guy trying to get a rebound, which he can do that as well. But just a guy that's really versatile.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, because a 7-footer, that's going to be a problem, especially, Alabama will be able to shoot the ball. What they did against BYU, 25 3-pointers, was I've never seen anything like it. And our daughter Mallory, who's an Alabama grad, was just flipping, going crazy. And then Saturday, she was not happy at all. We had to go.
They needed about 20 of those against Duke. They should have saved about 20 of those.
We had to make our own dinner. Mallory was not happy.
You knew it was trouble when they hit 25 against BYU. You know what happens the next game.
Yeah.
It always works that way.
I've seen that before. It does.
You were like, they didn't need but about 15. Can we take 10 of those and transfer them over? I wish you could take credits and move them forward. Hey, Coach, what Yancey and Rodney know these programs so well. They know the SEC so well. When you preparing for spring practice, I want to ask you first to start with Ole Miss. You look at what Lane Kiffin's doing. I think last year was a watermark season for Ole Miss, not because they made the playoff, they didn't, but because their fans are so mad that they didn't make it. Now the expectations are there. We talked about with the programs in the SEC since 1963 that have won the conference. I think Ole Miss is going to be the first one of those 9-6 schools to win this league with the way Kiffin's doing it. You think that's possible? Because I do.
I think the way he's trying to do it is probably the best route.
Yeah.
But I would not bet he's going to get it done simply because of how hard it is to do.
Yeah.
You bring that up several times since I've been coming on with you. I used to tell people that all the time, and they'd look at you like you're crazy. I said, what y'all keep talking about this and that? I said, since 1963, nobody's won it but these 6 teams. So that's why I talk about the Big Six. But, a lot of people, they really don't know what you're talking about. But then, anyhow, back to what you asked, I think that the biggest thing, he's got to break in a quarterback for the first time in 2 seasons or 3. I'm not sure. 3. And that's going to be a huge challenge. I think they really are playing great defense lately. And I think that's because they've emphasized it in recruiting, whether it's portal or high school. And they're going to be really good on defense. Lane's kind of like Coach Spurrier. He's going to find a way to get big plays and a way to get some points. And so, they're going to have a chance, no question, to challenge those guys up at the top that have always been there. I think they're probably the team that could do it the best.
Yeah, it's interesting, Coach. That's a good point. And one thing, if you follow Lane, how much he stresses that front 7 on defense, and that's going to be the strength of the team again this year. That and throwing the ball around, and they're really excited about the running backs they've got on the roster this year. But back to your point about defense, they put a heavy emphasis on that defensive line, and that's going to be their best unit. And I've been saying that for probably 3 or 4 years now with that wide receiver and quarterback. But the defensive line is where they're going to kind of hang their hat on. They feel really, really good about where they are on that front 7 on defense. The defensive backfield, that looks to be the weakness right now. They've got to replace their whole backfield, honestly. And safety, it's usually corners are harder to find than safeties, but they feel pretty decent about their corners. Do they have a Trey Amos? I don't think they have one right now. They do think TJ Banks, can be that guy. Will he be that guy by next year? I don't know. He's a 6'2", 195 corner that they've been really high on. He was a true freshman last year that actually played behind Trey Amos, kind of getting tutored by him. So they feel really good about one spot there at corner. Safety is where they've really got to make some hay in the portal in this spring. This spring portal that starts, I believe, April the 11th or 15th. I can't remember the date.
Day. Yeah.
Yeah, 15th. Yeah. Oh, I know that day. Trust me.
Yes. We all look forward to it gleefully.
Everybody on that's a 1099 knows about tax day. But
that's right.
That as far as the quarterback coach, man, they've been really high on Simmons. For the he's been getting nurtured under Dort for 2 years, and he's even surprised them at how well he's picked up the offense, and just he can throw the ball as good as anybody. So they are really excited about what Simmons is going to bring to the table there at quarterback. Their wide receiver room, they feel, can be as good or maybe even better than any receiver room they've had at Ole Miss. And we know that the receiver groups that Lane has had there, so they look really good there at receiver. Same for tight end. Offensive line, they got so many players hurt. It's kind of hard to get a gauge on it right now, but they think it's going to be adequate. Is it going to be championship level offensive line? No, it's not that defensive line level, but it's going to be adequate. Running backs, they think they're going to be really improved from last year. So defensive backfield, and then picking up another offensive lineman will kind of be where they're going to set their eyes on this spring portal.
All right, Rodney, Yancey gave a great dissertation there. Let's do the same thing with Alabama, and then I want to get Coach's reaction to that. And then at some point, Brad Bellamy from Landers Ford is going to check in. And Rodney, I'll tell you on the front end, Brad is a huge Memphis and Alabama. He's an Alabama fanatic, and he's from Memphis, but he's the general manager at Landers Ford in Memphis. Loves his Tide, so you can talk to him. And but do what Yancey did, because I think that covered everything about as well as I've heard anybody talk about Ole Miss, and along the line of what Coach said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, look, I think Kalen DeBoer, I've got a lot of confidence in what he and Ryan Grubb and Nick Sheridan and Jamarcus Shepard and the offensive staff are going to do. I don't think there's any question about, they're going to do a really good job. I think this year they've got a quarterback that's probably going to fit the system more closely to what they want. But I would go to defense. I mean, again, I know Kane Womack, there's a lot of positive things we've heard about him, and year one was a little tough in some ways, but I'm curious about the defense, and I think they should be really good. Everything I hear, again, we're closed out. We've had one media viewing period for about 10 minutes, so we don't get to see much, and I don't know that it would matter anyway, but but what you hear is they feel like they should be much better on defense. I mean, up front, they've got three guys that are really, really good. LT Overton's a projected first-round draft pick. Tim Keenan is one that supposedly one of the top 5 defensive tackles in the country that's returning. James Smith is a guy who's a 5-star rated player coming out of high school. He's going into his 3rd year. It's time for him to blossom. He showed some things against Michigan in the bowl game that kind of showed he could be dominant. Then they've got a bunch of younger players behind them that are extremely talented that you're just kind of waiting to see them develop. Jordan Renaud, Edric Hill, Jeremiah Beeman, guys like that have to come around this year. I think at inside linebacker, they feel really strong in the secondary. I think Mo Lindquist did a great job last year replacing what I would say was equivalent of 3 first-round talents. And they've got a young guy. Remember this name. He's a freshman, incoming freshman. He's here now in spring. Dejon Lee. He's a 6'4" corner. You don't see very many of those. He's really long. He's from California. He was a 5-star rated player. He's kind of been the rave of spring practice right now. But now, look, they've got Damani Jackson coming back at corner. They've got Zabian Brown coming back at corner. They've got a strong safety group, Keon Sabb, Bray Hubbard, Zay Mincy. Those are 3 top corners, right? 3 top safeties that they feel they have right now. So I think defensively, that's going to be a real key.
Yeah. Let's bring in Brad Bellamy, general manager, Landers Ford, Memphis, where Collierville and Memphis come together. Poplar and Houston Levy open every day of the week, but Sunday, they like the motto, the day means more than the dollar. Brad, one of the great people. That's Rodney Orr, Tyler Insider. Brad, are you a subscriber for only $48 a year?
I'm not a subscriber for only $48 a year, but that's a great plug, Ron.
That's right. Hey, what's going on at Landers? It's April 1st, first day of the month. Let's get going, man. Hey, there's never a bad time to buy a new vehicle.
Well, and it's a great time to buy a new vehicle or a used vehicle right now, because who knows what Liberation Day is going to bring tomorrow. So one thing I could assure all your viewers and all your folks is there's been a lot of churn, a lot of turmoil, a lot of conversations about what is going to be the impact of these tariffs on automotive, on pricing. Anything we have on the lot, anything we have right now, anything invoiced to us, that price is not going to change. We're not going to add addendums to our cars based on what we think is going to happen or what does happen. We believe very strongly, just like during COVID, we didn't charge addendums. We didn't charge over MSRP. We want to take care of the customers and give them confidence that not only is it a great time to buy it now, but when you come in to trade it, there's a lot of folks that paid a lot of money for vehicles 2, 3 years, 4 years ago during COVID that are pretty underwater right now because they paid so much over sticker. And now that the market's corrected itself, they're in a rough spot. But we didn't do that to our folks, and we don't plan to do it here with the tariff situation. So it's a great time to come out. Power Promise continues. F1 still have the 2.9 for 72 that we had in truck month. Still got great programs in the remaining 24 expeditions. And the other thing that's really exciting, Rob, is by the end of the month, probably middle of the month, we're going to start seeing the brand new 25 expeditions roll off the truck, bring it to our lot, completely refreshed for 2025. A lot of new features, and we're really looking forward to what that's going to bring for us. So March is a pretty good month for us, and over the last couple of years, April's been one of our best months of the year. So looking forward to taking care of all your listeners and on SEC Sidelines. And thanks for having me on this morning, Rob.
Absolutely. We're talking a little college football. Coach Ellis Johnson, I'm going to tell you something. Brad follows like we all do. He also is pretty good at wagering. You just heard what Rodney and Yancey said about Ole Miss and Alabama. Your thoughts on what spring practice is like? And let's start with Alabama. Kalen DeBoer had his first year. You've coached at Alabama under Gene Stallings. You coached on 2 different tours. You did 8 years in Tuscaloosa. So I know you've been to the Taco Casa before, but I digress. but let's talk about spring practice at Alabama. That'll be music to Brad's ears. And then Rodney's going to tell him how he can become a subscriber to Tighter Insider.
Well, everything's changed so much, but everything was in seasons when I was back in the times I was at Alabama. You had your game season, you had your recruiting season, then you had your off-season training, then you had your spring practice. It said went back on the training, all that. It was segmented. And now, to me, it just all runs over the top of each other. You got about half of the schools, not quite half, talking about not even having a spring game. That would have been unheard of back then.
Yeah.
You've got limitations on it. I think we had more practices back then and a lot more pads. So it's just hard it's like comparing apples to oranges. It's just so different.
Yeah.
But I do think it's still important. And if you got a new quarterback or you brought in about 15 guys from the portal or early high school enters, I think it would be desperately important to have them out there. Some coaches seem to not think so. So I don't know. Now, then they got these portal windows, 2 of them, one's after the fall, one's after the spring. So that adds another element where it just keeps churning. Like you were saying, the ribbon going along the bottom of the TV set, letting you know where the stocks are moving. And it's almost like that year round. Somebody's coming in the door, somebody's going out the door, stocks down, stocks up, all that. So it's just it just keeps flowing. It would be different today. I just think it would be totally different.
Yeah. No, Brad's an Alabama fan. The president at Landers, Don Kitchens, played at Ole Miss, Yancey. So, Brad, I know you got a question for Rodney or Tighter Insider. It's only $48 a year. Be a subscriber. And also, Tuesday nights at 6:30, he and Gary Harris, our good friend, do Tighter Insider TV. You need to watch that as well. But ask a question to Rodney. Let's just get that going. And then I know you got one for Yancey, and you got a hard out at 9 for your sales meeting. So I'm mindful of that.
Yeah, I think the biggest question right now is what is the quarterback situation looking like? How much is the offense going to change with the quarterback, and how is everything kind of shaping up for the fall?
Well, I think right now Ty Simpson is doing a really good job. He's the guy that I think it's kind of his job to take the bull by the horns. I don't think there's any doubt. He doesn't have a lot of experience. None of the 3 do. Obviously, Ty, and then Austin Mack, the transfer from Washington, and the highly heralded true freshman, Keelan Russell. But Ty's doing a really good job right now. I think he's in great position as far as changes with Ryan Grubb coming in at in the quarterback situation being more closely to what they prefer in terms of style. I think they really just want a guy who can distribute the ball. I think a guy that can get the ball to the right receiver accurately, on time, be able to read defenses, versus an athlete just kind of scrambling around, looking, trying to make a play. They want a guy who can run the system. And I think that this is probably going to be, their opportunity to get a little more close to what they want to do. So it seems to be going, really well in that regard right now. But again, these quarterbacks, they have very, very little experience. And Coach pointed out, when you have a new quarterback, it can be extremely difficult.
Yeah. Brad, get your inner Don Kitchens in for the Ole Miss question with Yancey Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline, Monday nights at 6, Sports 56 and Super Talk. It's 2 syllables, Mississippi.
But, congratulations on the 16 in both women's and men's basketball. I think it was interesting. One of the comments that was made is when you stack up football right now for the SEC versus all the other sports, football actually seems to be trailing a little bit behind. One of the big topics, Yancey, that we had last year, how much activity the portal for Ole Miss, how many players they were going to lose. How are things kind of shaping up, and how much activity do you expect them to have in the spring portal versus what they already got established?
We are talking about basketball, correct?
So I moved to. I was bringing up congratulations.
Football.
Yeah.
Specific question. I was congratulating on kind of how the basketball season out based on where it was earlier in the year and how everything finished up. Pretty exciting for.
Sure. I mean, it's exciting to see traditional football programs like Auburn, like in Alabama, now Ole Miss, get into the basketball scene nationally, right? But as far as football wise, I think right now, if you looked at this class this past year, actually, they signed the lowest amount of transfers. I think it was 24 that they've signed under the Lane Kiffin era. So this has been kind of a quiet storm, so to speak. But I look for them to pick up 3 to 4 defensive backs in the spring portal, maybe 1 to 2 offensive linemen and a pressure defensive end. I think that's kind of their objective right there. And, look, they're never going to turn down a big time player regardless of position as well. So you're always looking to improve the roster. So I think in the spring portal, you're looking at a total of 6 to 8 players that they're looking to sign. Now they're just not going to sign bodies, right? We're going to see. Last year, if you look at the spring portal versus the fall portal or the winter portal, excuse me, out of the top 100 players in the portal, surprisingly, 23 were in the spring. Now that only leaves you 23% of the top 100 players, but there's still some good players in the portal in the spring. The majority are going to be in the January, the December, January portal, but you still get some good players. I mean, you look at Stanford right now, they just let go of their coaching staff. We don't look for that to happen to any more Power 4 programs where you're changing staffs in the spring, but the number 3 overall player in the portal now, defensive end, is in the portal, and the number 1 defensive end, spring or the winter portal. So there will be some good available players, and that player is actually coming in on an official visit in a week. So to Ole Miss, so they're going to be looking to improve a little bit everywhere, but the emphasis is going to be at defensive back, especially safety and offensive guard.
Yeah. Brad, I know you've got your sales meeting. People come out there. We tell them, ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. It all gets started. Who's the guy in charge of the service department I met? Because that's the cleanest service department I've ever been in.
Nick is my parts and service director, and he does a fantastic job. The store won President's Award, which is the top honor at Ford from 2001 to 2018, 18 years in a row. And they not won it, but we just found out in the last week that we won President's Award for 2024, which is super exciting for us and all of our team. And not only that, but we finished first, which is all based on your customer satisfaction. And we finished first in our group, which is the first time that's happened in a very, very long time. So really excited, Rob, about everything we got going on here. And just because there was an article last week about this, our flag is about to come down today because it's going to get really nasty and the weather's going to be really bad. So anybody listening that's worried about where's the Landers flag, it's going to be down for the rest of the week, guys. But
I love you.
I subscribed to the Daily Memphian. Last week, it was a slow news day, so they reached out to us about why our flag was down. And I was like, well, we've had 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts for about 4 days straight. So we put it back up for last week, but it's going to be down again for the rest of the week. So just any listeners out there that are also Daily Memphian subscribers, it's going to be down for a little bit, guys, but it will be back up. I can assure you. The American flag will always fly at Landers.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the next 4 days, Wednesday through Saturday, are going to be insane here. Brad, thank you so much for everything y'all do. Love it. Landers Ford. Guys, thank y'all, both of y'all, Yancey and Rodney, and you, Coach, for answering questions. Brad is a junkie, and everybody that comes into Landers is a fan of some team. Memphis, SEC, Arkansas State, whoever. But this is so much fun getting to do this. We're gonna wrap up I'm going to say this. We went football heavy today. We'll be back in some basketball seriously tomorrow, but it's about to get crazy with football. And Coach, you remind me of a great attorney, man. You're over there. You do so much research. You talk with a lot of, like intelligence on any team we talk about. And I want to commend you and thank you for always knowing these topics, because we all know how much preparation it takes. And what Brendan, our executive producer, does, it's unbelievable. The graphics he puts up here and stuff. But Yancey, same thing. Rebel Yell Hotline, folks, listen to it. Set your radio every Monday night at 6 o'clock. Sports 56 WHBQ Super Talk Mississippi. Rodney Orr, what are you talking about tonight? With Tyler Insider. I'm sure it'll be spring practice and all. It's only $48 a year. I mean, you can't beat it. But I want to thank all of y'all. Great show. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. Mother Teresa said it best. We can't all do everything. We can all do something. Nice people. Thanks for watching. Love all y'all.